What's going on, people? So, in today's podcast, I'm talking about progress over perfection. It's so important that we stop nitpicking, especially as artists and creators. We're always over procrastinating and overthinking. Just go. So, about a year ago, I heard this really interesting phrase progress over perfection. And I thought, that's it.
What's going on, people? My name is Tony Az, and I'm a rapper that loves singing, making music 20 years, semi-seriously 10 years, very seriously the last 2 years. This podcast provides tips and ideas for emerging independent artists.
This is how I'm living now. This is how I'm living. What's going on, people? Welcome to today's episode, and today I want to explore the notion of progress over perfection. And this one is particularly poignant for us procrastinators. And I say us, so I'll put my hand up first. I am one of you. And I think that might just be a trait of all us creatives. We're the king and queens of procrastinating. And sometimes you just got to get stuff done. So when I heard this phrase about a year ago, progress over perfection, I was like, it makes so much sense. Like, for so long and with so many projects and things I've been meaning to do, it's like, okay, I can't do it because it's not right. I got to tweak it. It's got to get perfect. It's got to be this, whether it's a song we're doing, whether it's a music video we're fraffing around to put out. All of these things, you're waiting and trying to get it perfect, get that perfection. But in the meantime, you're not making any progress because you're not moving. And I think it's much better to be moving with a quote unquote imperfect product or service or piece of content, which, by the way, you can always tweak as you go along, rather than just sit there waiting for something to get perfect. So if you're in the music space, you've probably heard these ones. Okay, I can't put out that song yet because it's not this properly, or we got to wait for this singer to come and put this on it, or we got to wait for this person to do the artwork for us, and then wait for this person to come and take the pictures for us. And then all that time you're just fraffing around. And even when you're not fraffing around, in that process, things happen, e.g. life, which further derails the motion and the movement and the mission that you're on. So that thing which could have taken you one day to do, you started fraffing around trying to do it next week because it's not quite perfect and you're waiting for this perfect thing to come. But within that week, life happens, and then that can just derail you further. So like I say, this notion of progress over perfection is one I think that maybe not 100% of the time, but as best as you can, start working towards just getting things done. You can always, if you take a song, for example, you can always remaster a song and put it out again. Like Michael Jackson does it, Tupac albums do it. Do you got what I mean? You can do that. So imagine those songs, when they put them out, some of us will consider them perfect, but they still, years later, months later, whatever, you can still go back and tweak it. And you can see this with your own stuff. If you take forever to do a song and think it's perfect and put it out, I guarantee, listen to that song again in about a month's time, and they're going to be things that you can improve on that song. So what does that tell us? As creatives, nothing is the notion of perfection is a myth anyway, kind of thing, because there's always more you can do to improve something. That's just the nature of being a creative. One example I want to give you of this is this exact podcast that I'm speaking on right now. I had this idea to do this podcast about 6 months prior to me actually starting it. I had the ideas. I even writ out the episode guides of what it's going to be about in each episode. I had up to about 20 episode guides written down, typed up, ready to go. Why hadn't I started? I started procrastinated. Well, I need it to be perfect, so I'm going to have to hire a studio to do this, that, and the other, even though I have my own microphone and laptop at home to do my recordings. I'm going to want it filmed as well, so I got to make sure the camera's right. I got to think about which platform to put it on. I got to think about the artwork, the logo, Now, not to say these things aren't or weren't important, but at the end of the day, it came down to this. I had to kind of dig in and remind myself what the point of this podcast was. The point of this podcast is and was to provide tips and ideas for emerging independent artists, like those of you that are listening right now. So Would it be nice if it was nice and glossy, etc., etc.? Of course it would. Would it be nice if I had a nice logo and I filmed it in the studio and this, that, and the other? Of course it would. But ultimately, the aim of it was to provide you tips and ideas, right? So as a result, right now, this episode that you're listening to right now and every episode up to this point, I think we're on episode 6 or 7 or 8 right now. They have all been done on my mobile phone. Literally. Everything that you hear on this podcast, everything that you see in terms of the logo design, the artwork, the little adverts that are done for it, they are all done through my phone. So what does that tell you? You have everything you need to do everything that you want. Do you see what I'm saying? You have everything you need to do everything that you want. We just like to procrastinate about it. This podcast you're listening to is being done on my phone. Does it provide you value? I would hope so, because I'm saying the same information I would have said if I would have hired out a studio, had some lights beaming on me, and used some super duper software to edit it. This is all being done on my phone. So that is just an example to show you that, look, dig into your core of what you're really trying to accomplish. That's number one. That's probably a previous episode I spoke about that. And adopt the notion of progress over perfection. Later on, when the episodes get, or things get a bit bigger, I get a bit more resources. Can I go into a studio and start recording it from there and start filming it and having lights on me? Of course we can. But in the meantime, should I stop and wait for that before I do my podcast, before I share all these ideas and tips I have for my fellow emerging independent artists? No, because that's the core. That's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to share information. So all that being said, I'm just going to wrap up with this. Progress over perfection, people. Don't overthink it. Just get it done. And as you're doing it, you can improve it as you go along. And here's another thing that just came to me, actually. Sometimes you're not going to know, quote unquote, what's wrong with something until you're doing it. So you can sit and have all these ideas of what the perfect thing will be until you put it out to the masses and then they start poking holes in it. Even if you think about an Apple iPhone or Microsoft, they have, is it beta or beta, BETA versions that they put out? And then people test it and then they improve it as they go along. Even as the iPhone comes out, which is $1 billion company, they put it out and then people tell them, oh, there's this issue, there's that issue. And then what do? They release an updated version of the software, don't they? They create updates based on real time, real life feedback. So that's just an example of progress over perfection. You can't sit and dwell or whatever. You just got to get on with it. Hope this episode has helped someone. Thank you so much for listening.
So that's the end of today's episode. I really hope it brought you value. Do leave me a comment and let me know. In the meantime, check out my book, 10 Terrible Tips, Misleading Misinformation About Making It in Music, available from my website, TonyAsOfficial.com.
We're going.
Yo, follow me on Instagram as well, at TonyAsOfficial.
We don't know yet.